What's happening, guys? My name is Anthony, and in today's video we're going to be doing another league racing video. This time it is PSGL round 3 at Monaco. You guys may be wondering what happened to round 2 at Silverstone. We had quite a few issues with that one, which means that we weren't able to make an actual video out of it. We had our wheel, which was broken, the actual steering wheel, not the wheelbase, and we were having a lot of issues with OBS, which means we couldn't even stream / record the race, which was very frustrating. So yeah, with that one we ended up DNFing, obviously due to the fact that we had a broken wheel. So pretty much still no points at this point in terms of PSGL, but we've got everything fixed. We've got a new wheel, we've got OBS working, so let's get into Monaco. And as you can see, we've already gone out and we're just about to move on to our best lap with Monaco. And we did a lot of practice for this one, even more than we usually do, and I will be making a video very soon about practice and how you should go about practicing for a league race, just in case that you're new to it. But yeah, let's move on to our lap now. And you can see with Monaco you need to be on the limit all the time, you need to be close to the walls, and we're not having a great start to this lap. Our PB in time trial was an 8.4, which means, as you can see from the time on the top right hand side of the screen, we are over a second slower. But in GP mode it was a little bit slower. Our PB it was an 8.8, so yeah, still not as slow, but obviously, you know, there's a lot of time on the table here, and there's a lot of time that we're not able to capture in this lap, which happens to be our best lap, which is quite frustrating. But you can see the Alfa Romeo is ahead of us, and he wasn't close enough to actually affect the car, but he was close enough to give a distraction. And as you can see, the McLaren actually bins it as well, which wasn't a lot of help, but we do manage to gain quite a lot of time in the third sector. You can see now we're a 10th up, which again isn't ideal, but it is what it is. We do the final corner pretty well, we gain the 10th there as well, and we end up doing a 9.3 for this lap, which puts us in P5 at the time. But by the time that we actually finish, you'll see we end up moving down to P7, and you can see that the Alfa Romeo ahead of us, he was just ahead of us on his lap, which was quite frustrating, meaning that we did get affected because we were closer. But you can see now we're P7 for the race, which isn't ideal. You obviously want to be P1 at Monaco, but we're going to try and make it work as best as we can either way. So moving on to the race now, you can see we've got 5 red lights for PSGL round 3 at Monaco, and lights out and away we go, and we get an incredible start. And obviously a good start is very important, but it's even more important at Monaco, and this is the reason why we were able to gain a place at Monaco. And it's very difficult to overtake, of course, meaning that, you know, we pretty much guaranteed this position as long as we personally don't make a mistake. And you can see that the Ferrari ends up making a mistake straight away as well. Yellow flags, but no safety car, and that's another position that we've gained in this race already, and we've only done a sector. That's 2 positions, which is very, very big for us in terms of this race. All we need to do is just keep it out of the wall, try not to get any wing damage, try not to bump into anybody else, not have any unnecessary battles, just pick our places, pick our times, and really be careful with how we try to make moves. And we are pretty much going to have an incredible race now. And yeah, we're sitting in P5 as we've mentioned before, just trying to go with the strategy, which for us, we wanted to pit on lap, I believe 6 originally, but then I watched PSGL F1 and I saw that Brendan Lee and I believe it was Shanaka Clay pit super early. Now I didn't realize that they pit again due to a safety car, but you still can actually take the medium tires all the way to the end of this race from a very early pit stop. And that's exactly what ends up happening here. You're about to see that on this lap 3, Ondrax, who's the guy ahead of us, actually ends up going into the pits. He's the first out of everyone on the grid to pit, out of all the people that obviously didn't have any sort of damage or anything like that. So yeah, it's crazy how early you can actually pit on this as we get our first warning and still take those mediums to the end, but obviously going to be very bad towards the end, so it could potentially mean that you could be overtaken by someone who pitted a lot later. And moving on to lap 4 now, we're coming up to the end of it, and you can see that we have Dovzan and Raven ahead of us, and they both pit on lap 4. And at this time I was thinking to myself, should I pit or should I stay out in clean air? I wasn't entirely sure, which is when I decided to ask chat what they thought. What do you guys think? Should I pit this lap or spend this time in clean air? So yeah, as I was saying, yeah, I decided to ask chat what they thought. Should I stick out in clean air and try and build up a gap, or should I pit? I did have someone say that the undercut around Monaco is very, very powerful, which I didn't see at the time, sadly, or else I would have pit. But everyone was saying pretty much stay out in clean air. And yeah, it sounded like a good strategy at first, because they could have potentially come out in traffic, which could have slowed them down heavily, which would have given us the chance. But sadly, they didn't come out in traffic, and we wasn't really able to make much pace with our tires. And by the time we ended up reaching to lap 7, yeah, it was pretty much done. The tires were done in, and we were losing time rather than gaining time. So, you know, try just damage limitation at this point. Just dive into the pits and try and make up as much time as we possibly can. And you can see coming out of the pits, we end up getting undercutted by about 4 seconds, which is absolutely huge. And though we do have fresher tires, it is Monaco. It's a very, very difficult to overtake at this track. Towards the end, there could potentially be a difference, just because of how much their tires are going to be towards the cliff versus mine. But again, Monaco barely be able to overtake anyway. But moving on to lap 30 now, you can see we catch up to Kevin, who was in front of us. I think he just generally was in front of us because he didn't pit. He ended up with damage, which means that it was pretty easy for us to make the move. He actually let us make the move, so I ended up saying thank you to him at the time, just because obviously he didn't have to do that. He could have held us up a lot, but obviously we would have gotten very, very heated about that, so I'm glad that he didn't. And then moving on to lap 22 now, you can see we actually managed to catch up to Dovzan, which means we do have the pace around here. We do have decent race pace around here, or else we wouldn't have been able to catch them up in the first place. They are in each other's DRS, and though there's only one DRS zone, it's still enough to sort of make something happen there. And you can see we ended up getting a penalty, and that was due to the follows that we got. It just distracted me a little bit, and we ended up cutting the corner, and we ended up getting that penalty, which is a shame, because again, this could hurt us a lot, especially if there's a safety car that comes out. We could potentially lose on a lot of positions here. But instead of thinking about that, I was more just thinking about just trying to make up as many positions as we can. Maybe someone might make a mistake which might gain us a position, obviously, because as soon as you get wing damage, you have to go around the track and then go into the pit, so you're going to lose a lot of time. And yeah, at this moment of time, we're sitting in a pretty good position here. Even though we do have a penalty, we're in P5. The guy behind us, which is AM, he is in 6th place. He's just within that barrier. So at this moment of time, P6 is where we would be finishing if we were on the last lap, which, to be honest, isn't that bad for Monaco. But I was trying to push because we actually have a 100% podium record at Monaco. I have done, I believe, 4 races up until this point at Monaco since I started league racing, and we finished in P3 for every single race. So yeah, I really wanted to keep up the 100% podium record that we had at this track, and that's why I was pushing even though we had a warning. And you can see now, moving on to lap 25, Bogorov makes a huge mistake and we end up getting a warning, but obviously I knew if we didn't get any more warnings, then we could obviously get that removed just in case. And yeah, moving on to lap 28, now you can see we are actually in P3. We do have AM behind us, and he's, you know, within DRS, so we are going to lose a position on that. But if I can actually get in front of Dovzan, that means we would still finish in P3, which means we would still have that 100% record at Monaco, podium record at Monaco. So at this moment of time, yeah, that was pretty much the game plan. Just looking for an opening, just trying to be as consistent as possible, because obviously this track demands 120% concentration. You need to be as consistent as ever on any track at this track, because the second you take your eye off the game, you will make a mistake. And spoiler alert, that does end up happening in a few laps time, and it really just shows how much concentration, how consistent you need to be at Monaco. It's not one of my favorite tracks, to be honest. I feel as if with the modern cars, Monaco just isn't really a track that's very good. It doesn't really promote good racing. It's more just, you know, follow the leader basically, which is quite boring both to drive yourself and to both race. I'm sure in real life it's probably exhilarating to drive, and obviously the history behind this track is why it still stays to this day. But I don't know, maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section what you think about this track. Do you think it's a track that should stay in Formula 1, or do you think it's a track that should be removed? I'm in the ball camp where I think it should be removed, because it just doesn't suit the modern day Formula 1. So yeah, moving on to lap 32 now, and you can see we're still following Dovzan, just again still looking for that opening just to make sure that we get that 100% podium record. But coming after the chicane now, you can see that a lap car just appeared out of nowhere. and I was so confused. At first, I actually thought this was AM who was passing me, but it wasn't. It was a Haas, and also someone who was a lap down from us. And yeah, he was quicker than us, which is why he passed us, but it took me out of the game just long enough for me to make this mistake. Yes. Very, very frustrating. We did 33 laps of, you know, just great racing, great consistency, great concentration, and just one little incident of a lap car passing us was enough for us to lose concentration, and we were so frustrated after that. As you can see, I am pushing these soft tires as hard as I can. We actually managed to catch back up to bugger off. He had damage, and I was just looking to pass him here. I was so angry. He obviously has a penalty, so, and he has damage as well, which means even if he didn't have a penalty, we probably still was gonna get this position off of him, which we do with DRS on this final lap. And yeah, it was frustrating to have to lose my 100% podium record at Monaco this way. But again, if you take your eye off the game at this track, you will be punished, and that's exactly what we did. So yeah, nothing we can really do about that now, but we did have a good recovery drive. A lot of you guys on the stream were just trying to keep me calm, even though I was frustrated, and I wasn't as frustrated as you've probably seen other streamers who would, you know, smash stuff and break their stuff. We wasn't that frustrated, but we were frustrated, and you guys were trying to just keep me calm, keep me focused in the race so that we didn't make any more mistakes. So I do want to thank you guys for that. And just in case you do not know, I stream all of my league races over on twitch.tv/BushiAntz. I will have a link in the description, so if you do want to catch these live, then feel free to. And also, if you want to catch these races as replays, if you don't maybe have the time to watch these live, make sure to go to my BushiVods channel here on YouTube, which all you need to do is just go to the link in the description, and that will be there as well. And as we come up to the final corner now, we are going to finish in P5, which is our first points in PSGL, and it's our first point since coming back to league racing, which is very, very good. I'm happy with the fact that we managed to score a decent amount of points. That's actually all I was really going in for at first, until I realized that we had the 100% podium record at Monaco, and I wanted to keep that record going, which was when we started pushing for that podium position. Sadly, we didn't end up getting it, but P5 is still a solid result. Our teammate actually wasn't in the race because he was having some technical difficulties with his Fanatec V3s, which was a shame. So sadly, we don't get double points for this for the constructors, but at least for ourselves, we managed to get points. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to smash that like button. If you are new to this channel and you want to see more league racing content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in my next league racing video.